Every great conversation begins between two thoughts.
Someone said something to me when I was about 9 years old, a teacher, and I still hear it sometimes, just out of nowhere, 30 years later almost.
What did they say?
She said, "You're not really a maths person, are you?" Just like that. Casually, like it was obvious. Like it was just a fact about me.
And you believed her?
I believed her for 20 years. Avoided anything with numbers. Told myself the story so many times, it stopped feeling like her words and started feeling like my own truth.
That's that right there. That's actually one of the most important things about words that most people never fully understand. They don't just describe reality, they create it.
Create it, not just reflect it.
Not just reflect it. Words shape the neural pathways in our brain. They influence which genes get expressed. They change the chemistry of the body in real and measurable ways. A word is not just a sound, it's a biological event.
A biological event. I've never heard it described that way before.
There's a neuroscientist, Andrew Newberg, at Thomas Jefferson University, who spent years studying exactly this. And what he found is extraordinary. He states that a single word has the power to influence the expression of genes that regulate physical and emotional stress. A single word. Not a speech, not a conversation. One word.
So when my teacher said, "You're not a maths person," that wasn't just an opinion leaving her mouth. It was something that landed in my biology.
In your developing 9-year-old brain, yes. And because you were young and she was an authority figure, the brain gave those words enormous weight, encoded them deeply, filed them under true things about who I am.
And I just carried them, without ever questioning whether they were actually true.
Most people do, because that's how the brain works with words from significant people at significant moments. It doesn't always stop to fact-check, it just absorbs, files, builds a worldview around what it was told.
So words from the right person at the right moment can rewrite someone.
In both directions. That's the part that, when you really sit with it, is both terrifying and extraordinary. Research from Virginia Tech, published in 2025, found that dopamine and serotonin, our brain's primary mood and motivation chemicals, are released in specific areas of the brain when we process the emotional meaning of words. Not just when things happen to us. When we hear or read or even think certain words, the chemistry shifts.
So reading something, just reading words on a page, can change your brain chemistry.
Measurably. Which is why literature has been used as therapy. Why poetry reaches places that logic cannot. Why a single line from a book sometimes feels like it was written specifically for you at specifically this moment of your life.
I've had that feeling of, how did this person know? How did they reach exactly this thing I couldn't even name?
Ready. Because they used words with enough precision and enough truth that they activated something real in your brain. Something that was already there, waiting to be named.
Words name things that already exist in us.
And naming something changes your relationship to it. This is one of the most important findings in psychology. The act of putting words to an experience, of labeling what you feel, actually reduces the intensity of that feeling in the brain. There's a term for it: affect labeling.
Affect labeling. So, saying "I am scared" out loud actually makes you less scared?
Neurologically, yes. Brain imaging studies show that when people name their emotions, when they say the word activity in the amygdala, the brain's alarm center reduces. The prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking part, becomes more active. You move from reaction to reflection, just by finding the word.
Which is why talking about something hard helps, even when talking doesn't solve it.
Exactly why. You're not solving the problem by naming it. You're changing how your brain is processing it, creating just enough distance between you and the feeling to think clearly. Words are literally neurological tools.
Okay, so words affect brain chemistry. Words name things and reduce their intensity. What about the words we say to ourselves? Because I think, honestly, The words inside my head are often much harsher than anything anyone has ever said to me out loud.
For most people, yes, the inner voice is often the harshest critic in the room. And research shows it operates with the same neurological weight as words spoken by an external person. The brain doesn't always fully distinguish between something you hear and something you tell yourself repeatedly.
So if I tell myself I'm not good enough often enough, the brain starts treating it as established fact.
Files it under true things about who I am, just like your teacher's words. The source changes, but the neurological mechanism is the same. Repeated words, internal or external, become beliefs, and beliefs become behavior, and behavior becomes a life.
Words become beliefs, become behavior, become a life. When you put it that way, that's a lot of responsibility sitting in the things we say to ourselves every day.
An enormous amount. There was a study, the Do Words Hurt experiment, where scientists monitored brain responses to negative words. And what they found was that negative or painful words increase activity in a specific region of the brain, the subgenual anterior cingulate cortex, which is directly linked to stress and anxiety responses. Negative words don't just feel bad. They trigger a measurable stress response in the body.
Every time.
Every time. Which means the person who spends their day telling themselves, I'm stupid, I always fail, nothing ever works for me, is not just being hard on themselves emotionally. They are repeatedly triggering a stress response in their own body, day after day.
They're stressing themselves with their own thoughts.
Chronically. And chronic stress, as we know, has real physical consequences. Immune function, sleep, cardiovascular health. The words we speak to ourselves are not separate from our physical well-being. They are directly connected to it.
So changing the words you use to yourself, changing your inner voice, isn't just positive thinking fluff. It's actually healthcare.
Supported by neuroscience. Completely. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because it's not about pretending everything is fine. It's not about replacing every negative thought with a forced positive one. The research is more nuanced than that.
What does it actually suggest then?
Precision. Choosing more precise words. Because the brain responds differently not just to positive versus negative, but to specific versus vague. Vague negative words, I feel terrible, activate a broader stress response. But specific precise words, I feel disappointed about this specific thing, give the brain something concrete to work with. A clearer signal. A more manageable experience.
So the difference between I feel awful and I feel frustrated because this specific thing didn't go the way I hoped is actually neurologically significant.
Significantly significant. Researchers call this emotional granularity, the ability to differentiate between emotional states with precision. And people with high emotional granularity, who have a rich and specific emotional vocabulary, show measurably better emotional regulation, lower rates of anxiety and depression, and more effective responses to stress.
So learning more words, literally expanding your vocabulary, makes you emotionally more resilient.
Which for an English learning podcast feels rather important to say out loud.
Right? Every word you learn isn't just vocabulary. It's a new tool for understanding yourself.
A new level of precision for your inner and outer world. Which is why language learning is one of the most profound things a person can invest in. Not just for communication, for consciousness itself.
Okay, what about the words we say to other people? Because I think most of us underestimate how much our words land in someone else, how long they stay.
Profoundly underestimate. There's a well-known effect in psychology sometimes called the "you seem like a person who" effect. When someone labels you positively, tells you you seem like someone who cares deeply, or who thinks carefully, or who handles things with grace, the brain internalizes that label and begins to act in accordance with it.
We become what we're told we are.
More than we realize. Studies on children show that praise focused on identity, you are a hard worker, produces more sustained effort than praise focused on outcome, you got a good result. Because identity words attach to the self. They become part of how the person sees themselves. And people act from their self-concept,
So telling a child, "You are curious," is more powerful than telling them, "Good answer."
The research supports that, yes, because curious becomes part of who they are. Good answer is just a moment that passes.
And the reverse is also true. "You are stupid" lands deeper than, "That was a stupid thing to do."
Much deeper and much longer lasting. Which brings us back to your teacher. She didn't say, "That was a wrong answer." She said, "You are not a maths person." She attached it to your identity. And the brain, especially a young brain, filed it accordingly.
I wish someone had told me that at 9. That her words were about a moment, not about me.
That's the thing about words, though. They don't come with instructions. Most people who say damaging things have no idea of the half-life of what they're releasing into another person's world.
The half-life of words. That's a phrase I won't forget.
Because some words last decades, some last a lifetime, and some, and this is the equally important truth, some words heal things that years of silence couldn't touch.
Tell me about that. The words that heal.
Research on therapeutic language, the words used in therapy, in close relationships, in moments of genuine support, shows that certain phrases activate the brain's reward circuitry and oxytocin release simultaneously. Phrases like, "I believe in you," "I see you," "You are not alone," "What you're feeling makes sense." These aren't just kind things to say. They are neurologically activating phrases that shift the brain's state.
You are not alone. We keep coming back to that phrase, don't we?
Because neurologically, it might be one of the most powerful combinations of words in the human language. It directly addresses the brain's deepest fear, isolation and abandonment, and tells it the threat is not real. You are safe. You are connected.
4 words, and the brain just responds.
4 words carrying 4 million years of evolutionary weight. Because connection was survival. And those words confirm connection. The brain doesn't take that lightly.
I keep thinking about all the words I've used carelessly. Things I've said to people without realizing they might still be carrying them somewhere.
Most of us have those. And, I think this is important, the answer isn't guilt. The answer is awareness. Because you can't unsay something. But you can become someone who chooses words more carefully going forward. Who understands that what you say to someone, or to yourself, is never just sound. It's always something more.
It's always doing something, even when we don't intend it to.
Especially when we don't intend it to. The careless word often lands harder than the deliberate one, because the deliberate word, the person knows you meant it. The careless word, they wonder if it was just the truth slipping out.
The truth slipping out. That's exactly how it feels, isn't it? Like the casual, cruel thing is somehow more honest than the careful, kind thing.
Which is why the words we use casually, the throwaway comments, the offhand observations, deserve more attention, not less. They carry weight precisely because they seem effortless.
Think about the words you use most often about yourself. The ones you reach for automatically when something goes wrong. The ones you've been saying so long they feel like facts. Are they actually facts? Or are they just old words from old moments that you never stop to question?
And think about the words you use with the people closest to you. The ones you say without thinking. Because those words are landing somewhere. They are doing something in the brain of the person receiving them. They will be remembered, sometimes for decades, in ways you might never know.
Words are the most powerful thing most of us use every single day. And most of us use them without thinking at all.
Which means the opposite is also available to us. Using them with thought, with precision, with the understanding that what we say, to ourselves and to others, is quietly shaping the world we both live in.
Choose them like they matter, because they do.
They always did.
Thank you for sitting with us today. This one felt important to us.
If this conversation shifted something in how you think about the words around you, share it. That act itself is choosing words with intention.
And our question, before you go,
What is one word or phrase someone said to you, positive or negative, that you have carried with you for years? And has it served you or held you back?
Tell us in the comments. We read every single one. Always.
Until next time.
Stay curious, stay kind, and choose your words like they matter.